I know you're a big Netflix holder, but here we are having lost another million subscribers.
Well, yes and no. I mean, obviously, losing subscribers is not a great headline, but you have to look at it in the context of obviously rising prices in the United States and the fact that they don't have a way to monetize people who don't want to pay, which is turns out about 30% of people who watch Netflix don't pay. And that's really why I think people are so bullish is the strategy that Netflix is going to be employing to get these people to pay is a two-pronged strategy that I think will be very effective. One is the ad-supported tier, which I think is a wonderful opportunity to address a global market if you're an advertiser and a very engaged audience. So as an advertiser myself, I would definitely put ads on Netflix. And then secondly, from getting some add-on sub revenue from the people who use their mom's account. So, essentially this is a wake-up call to millennials across America that they're going to have to watch ads if they don't want to pay for Netflix, or their mom can pay another couple bucks a month. But the days of free streaming are definitely over for Netflix.
What's your take on their content spending strategy? Yes, there are huge hits. They spend a lot on those hits, but it seems like Netflix makes a lot of stuff. Would you advocate them spending less on fewer but still big hits rather than on everything? I mean, there does seem to be a little bit of a spray and pray element here.
Well, when you're serving the world, essentially, you have a huge audience to make happy, so like a lot of content they make is really for niche audiences one way or another that they're trying to serve all throughout the world. But you have to look at it from this, like how much goes out and how much comes in versus and what they get for what they're spending. And I think one of the things in the report that I found really interesting was the fact that Netflix is now getting to a point where they're amortizing the same amount as they're spending on content. And they used to spend a lot more than they're amortizing. And so what we're really getting out of their financials is a real number of profitability on the content spend that they have. So if any group of people that I trust spending content is the group of people at Netflix, they just make amazing content and they have a great team.
Now, obviously, valuations have dropped out there, and I wonder what you think about M&A. Could Netflix potentially acquire some, new capabilities here? What about a Roku or a theater chain?
Well, I was kind of pushing towards the theater chain idea because I love putting this Ryan Reynolds movie in the theater, which I think it could generate 100 million plus that Netflix isn't going to get. And as a user, I would wait another 2 weeks to watch it on Netflix. It wouldn't matter to me. So, it makes me sad they're not moving that direction. But I'm in the gaming business too, and they're moving towards gaming, and they're partnered with Microsoft, which is one of our top holdings in my fund, GK, and as well as Netflix. So I'm really happy with Microsoft and Netflix moving into the gaming area together. I mean, what a great partnership. But Netflix is filled with IP. And if you look at the way Disney has monetized IP at Marvel, that's what Netflix is really thinking about in their future is how do we monetize our IP better? How do we get more revenue dollars per user? Maybe it's live events. And we saw that with the Netflix comedy specials, which were actually live events that Netflix sold tickets to, but then put on the platform as well. So I think that's really the thinking there. We're a very big company with lots of subscribers and we still want to grow, but there's a huge amount of revenue and profits we haven't tapped from this audience that they're really focused on. And I think that approach is really, attractive to me as a shareholder.
I also want to ask you about Tesla and Twitter. I know you're a big Tesla holder. As I understand it, you held Twitter until Elon Musk decided he wanted to pull out of the deal. Now we're seeing this judge fast track the trial as Twitter wanted them to do. And there are certainly signs that this Delaware court could force Elon Musk to do the deal. What's your take?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I just want to say I have a pretty good understanding of law, but I'm not a professional lawyer. But my take on this, and I've spoken to many legal people about this as well, and my own experience in watching mergers over my life, is that Elon's made a big mistake. And, this is a mess. There was a material effect on Twitter, and you can't deny it. And pulling out of this deal has severely damaged Twitter and their future. So I think Elon is at risk to potentially losing billions of dollars in damages, but I don't see a court forcing a person to run a company they don't want to run. I mean, that's not really the solution to this. Twitter's been damaged. And the question is whether they find that damage to be Elon's fault or not because of the information that he received from Twitter, which no question was questionable. But in my mind, they had a merger agreement and he breached it, and it's going to be a costly encounter for Elon, I think.
Does it damage Tesla too? I mean, does it make you concerned as a Tesla shareholder?
No, it's a real positive for Tesla that he's not going to be the CEO of Twitter. I mean,
well,
you know, as
not
much as
yet.
he's not going to be the CEO of Twitter, I can tell you that. I mean, he doesn't want anything to do with it. That's the bottom line. He's going to lose billions of dollars, which, you know, is a very wealthy man, so he'll survive. But from a Tesla perspective, Tesla's in massive growth mode right now. I mean, it couldn't be a better environment to sell electric vehicles. And they got 2 brand new factories in ramp mode at the same time. His focus needs to be on Tesla right now because the next 12 months to 18 months are the most consequential months for Tesla's future that I've seen in the 8 years I've been an investor in Tesla. So I'm you know, happy that, I mean, this is still a waste of time and it's still distracting, but I'm happy he's not going to end up being the CEO of Twitter, and hopefully he'll learn his lesson and really focus on what he's done great, which is Tesla. And I think that's what he's learned.